Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me for a conversation about 50s and 60s era catalog style guitars. Those are Silvertones, Ks, Harmonies, Nationals, Supros, Airline, all those cool old quirky guitars that people were buying out of the Sears or Montgomery Ward catalog. From arguably what a lot of us romanticize as the golden era of guitar making, right? The 50s through the early mid 60s. And some of you may be saying, you know what, those guitars do not deserve a place in that vintage guitar conversation. But if you're watching this, I kind of think maybe you feel like I do, that they absolutely do. They're pieces of Americana and really cool old guitars. But really, what I want to touch on is their connection to what, fast forward to today, what Eastwood Guitars is doing in basically taking those vintage designs and modernizing them. Certainly, Fender and Gibson, the two big names we think of in vintage guitars, have done the exact same thing with their guitars. I mean, the guitar that you go into Guitar Center today or go online to Sweetwater and buy, the Fender Strat that you buy now is not going to be the same in a lot of ways as the guitar that somebody bought brand new in 1954. Those guitars have been modernized to appeal to modern players who want different things from guitars than was being offered back then. They may look the same, but they certainly aren't the same in terms of playability and features. The same could be said for what Eastwood is doing with these catalog style guitars, which I think is really cool. I happen to love these quirky old vintage guitars, and the great thing about them is they can be had at a reasonably good price. And that brings up a thing that some people may say, well, you know what? The vintage version of these guitars, like your Harmony there, can be had for, roughly $1,200 to $1,500. And over here on the right, the Airline H78 isn't all that much less expensive. So why wouldn't I just buy the vintage version? Well, I think there's some reasons why you might look at this over here. Now, in a perfect world, we would have both, right? Because let's face it, having a vintage guitar is super cool. And there's no substitute for that. I mean, it is a certain thing. A vintage guitar has a certain thing and a vibe to it that a modern guitar just, in my opinion, can't quite replicate. It's not the same thing. But having the vintage guitar only can be problematic if you are a musician who not only is a home player, an enthusiast, and a collector, but also a gigging musician who wants to get out and actually use the guitar in a band situation live with other musicians or in a recording studio or somewhere where you're playing with other people, where having a reliable, great sounding guitar that stays in tune is a really important aspect of what you need. I feel like in that way, having both is really cool, but maybe you're not in a position to have both. Or maybe you're like, I don't even want the old one. I need the modern playability. I don't care about the vintage aspect of it, but I do like the way they look. So those are three things that I want to talk about. Now let's look at an example here. This is a great example. On the left, my Harmony H75, Harmony H75 from 1964. A killer old vintage guitar. I love this guitar. I'm a big fan of Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. He's an avid user of this model and other catalog style guitars from the past, which I think is super cool. These old gold foils sound fantastic, but I gotta say, over here on the right, my Airline H78 from 1 year ago sounds really great as well. And it offers some enhancements that I think make it more reliable and a better choice for a gigging musician. Let's talk about some of those. Over here, we have this wooden floating bridge that you found on almost all these old guitars. Aesthetically, it looks pretty cool, I think, but it doesn't do a whole lot in terms of tuning stability, and it's really lacking in the area of intonation, where this fixed post tune-o-matic style bridge is going to be way more reliable tuning stability wise, but also offers about the closest you can get to perfect intonation, which is important when you're playing with other people. You want to be in tune. So my question to you is this. If you are a musician who not only plays at home, but also plays out, Would you say, you know what? No, I think the old design is perfect and cool. I'll sacrifice a little playability to have the vintage cool factor. Are you the guy in the middle that's like, no, I like to collect the old ones because I think they're super cool and they have a place, but certainly live, I need the modern playability? Or are you the guy that's like, you know what? Hey, I need the modern playability. I love the fact that they look vintage, but I don't really have the ability to own both, so I'm going to go over here only. Um, like to hear from you guys. What are your comment below? Let me know what you think about that. First of all, do you even think these guitars deserve to have a seat at the table in the vintage guitar conversation? And two, where do you fall in this ABC sort of thing? Do you say, I just like the old ones, I want both because I can have both, or I just need the more modern playability and I love the fact that it has the vintage styling? Comment below, let me know. Let's have some conversations about this. I'm curious what you guys think.